I'll be honest. I think if I would have stayed in the States, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I would have probably, I don't know where I would be doing, who knows, but I doubt it. I think I would be like a lot of people I know over there doing some job, maybe a mortgage, which is
Something
not bad.
Yeah, the safe job, something that's going to give you benefits. You hear that a lot.
Yep.
And so over here, that doesn't really exist.
Today we're here with Edwin, who is born in the DR, went to the US for a few years and moved back.
Thanks for inviting me to the podcast. I mean, I've told my stories several times, but never recorded it. So hopefully one day, hopefully I'll inspire a few people. And who knows, maybe even my kids will watch this one day. It'll be recorded. It'll be somewhere. So thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your, a brief backstory. Where were you born? When you went to the U.S., when you came back?
Sure. So I was born here in DR, in Santiago, but my dad is from Gurabo and my mom is from Tamorit, which are campos, or what we know as campos here, especially when I was growing up. So I grew up here till 8. Then my dad's his whole family was living there. So finally he decided to move there. He took me and my little brother. So I was 8. I went to elementary school there for a year. That's when I was able to learn some English. And but then he figured that because my mom was still here, she didn't have the papers and stuff. So he had to, I don't know what the exact name for the process is, but he had to basically, in Spanish it's called pedila, do the paperwork, So he's like, look, I'm a guy, I probably and by the way, his family, they're great. My dad's family, they were helping take care of us, but he couldn't do it. And honestly, it's not the same, bro. I wanted my mom. I'm like, I don't know you guys, but your dad, my dad, he barely knew how to cook. So he's like, hey, I'm deporting you guys back. He literally used that word. And I'm like, I was happy. Came back and I went to school here again until I was 14. So when I was 14, my dad's like, okay, well, if you're going to go to school in the States, then you probably need to come here for high school. It's going to be easier for you to transition. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. And there was, at that point, I did want to move back to the States because I would visit all the time every summer. So there was something about the States, right? I wanted to go there. And
so you did kind of the opposite of what a lot of Dominicans over there do, which is when they're young, they fly here and stay the whole summer. And you did the opposite, which is you were here and then you would go in the summer.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the whole summer. It was probably a couple of weeks. And it was really cool because my family would take me out to water parks.
Yeah.
I remember going to Mountain Creek, all those. I don't know if you guys ever been there. That's around close to Jersey, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of it, but I never.
Yeah,
went.
So it was super cool. But yeah, it was funny that now that you put it that way, it was basically the opposite. And it was really cool for me because, again, I was there for a couple of weeks. I guess, and back then, and here it was really cool to live in the States, or it was just cool for the people that would come from the States here. I was seen as cool and yeah, I was kind of seeing, I feel like I was kind of seeing all the positives of the States while I was visiting. I think that often happens when Dominicans go there for vacation as well.
Right.
They go there for a week, 2 weeks, their families over there take them out. They see all the nice things, but they don't get to experience the day to day, right?
Yeah.
The grind, the etc. So yeah, then I was like, yeah, I want to go. Actually, I told my dad, I'm like, yeah. So I moved and I was 14. My mom her papers were still not, she was still living here with my little brother. And then I was there from 14 till 22, late 22. I was almost 23. But then it became the opposite. So I moved there and then I would come every summer back here.
Right. So you started go ahead.
It was the opposite.
But from what I understood is you were here, then you left to the States and came back. So you actually did that twice.
Pretty much.
Right.
First time when I was 8 was not my decision, right?
Right.
And then when I moved back 14, it was sort of my decision. I wanted to do it, but ultimately, I was a minor, right? My dad bought the flight for me.
Right.
So I moved back those years. At first, it was hard to adapt. By the way, when I was 14, adapting to the States, it was
in
tough.
high school, yeah.
Yeah, because I was doing the 2-week vacation, but adapting back to high school was different too. It was the school I went here. It was a public school, by the way, but it was different, man. There was in the States, there's different groups. I didn't
Cliques.
Yeah, that doesn't happen here, at least not
Or
where I
talking
went
about
to
like with
school.
friends, like
Yeah, yeah, it was like and everyone was very segregated. I don't know where you guys
yeah,
went, but
the culture is very
yeah, like
Yeah.
it was Dominicans with Dominicans,
Yep.
white kids with white kids. Even within the Dominicans, there were certain divisions, and it was weird. It was so like, yeah, it didn't seem natural to me. And by the way, to give you and those watching a little bit of context, my family they don't live in the city, is in New York, but it's more in the suburbs. So what in the city is normally known as upstate. So that is Rockland County.
Yeah.
So the high school was very typical of what you actually see in like movies, like very with the lockers, and
yeah.
there was not like I heard in the cities it get very dangerous. It wasn't dangerous or anything. There were
Yeah, I mean, in the city, it's a little bit different. So it's funny you mentioned that because I grew up watching like Saved by the Bell, right? And when I started going to like middle school and high school, I'm like, where's this? Yeah, is this like fake? But it's because I was in the city, I was in Queens in Corona, and I went to Flushing High School, right? And we had lockers, but we weren't really allowed to use them. I remember, at the time, it's because people would break into it and steal everything out of it, right? Now, saying that, I do want to mention that I went to Louis Armstrong Middle School, ISU 27, and that was the school at the time. I'm not sure what it is now, where I first started to get kind of like it was very culturally diverse, and it's because Louis Armstrong, if you don't know who he is, he was a famous musician, jazz musician, and he cared about human rights, and he was obviously, there was he was around in time of segregation and everything, and so his vision was to have for everybody to get along. I mean, what a wonderful world. If you've ever heard that song, I mean, that's literally what the song is about. Everybody getting along. And so that school, there was a mix of different cultures in it, right? So I got some of that, and then I went and then like reality hit me in the face with a normal high school where it's like completely like just crazy, right? And I'm like, man, I just came from a nice. So the Saved by the Bell experience I got in middle school, but in high school it was like, oh, we're not allowed to use the lockers, and I came from a place where we were using lockers and everything was fine, and so I got to see kind of both of that. So it's funny you mentioned that. So a lot of my friends, that went to regular middle schools, they got the experience I got during high school. So
yeah, that's interesting. I remember I knew the city was a little bit different because we would have kids that would move upstate, and they're like, "What are the metal detectors and where are the fights?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What are you talking?"
yeah,
Like this school is boring. I'm like, "I don't know," but so yeah, it was very typical. Like, if anyone has ever watched those either movies or sitcoms where school is present, or even the cartoons, it was literally that. But still, it was tough for me. So at one point I remember telling my dad, he's like, "I want to go back to DR," and my dad's like, "Well, I paid $800 for a flight, bro. You're not going anywhere. You stay here."
it's like, yeah, get used to it.
Yeah, and then my dad, he's like very typical Dominican, very like strict. Like you do your make sure you do your thing. I'm not. Yeah, very like if any of you Dominicans watching have a campo dad, like he was.
It was pretty much that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a bit strict and stingy, honestly.
So you would say, then the culture was completely different then. From you said there was more of togetherness here in school, which I'm not surprised. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to move here. I have seen, my kids in school going through that right now, where there's a big difference. But when the U.S., it was like you said, it was just over here it was a lot more. Everybody kind of like hung out with each other and stuff.
Yeah, usually the case. Like I kind of had that experience where it's like everybody's in their own clique. This group in this table, this group in this other table. Like that's all I've ever seen. So you're telling me that's not the case? Yeah.
So okay, so let me. I went to a public school here in the campus. I'm from Gurabo, and Gurabo is big, so part of Gurabo is urbanized, but I'm almost up in the mountains. Not in the mountains per se, but you could literally see the mountains from the school I actually went to. So it was countryside. So maybe my experience was a bit different than, I don't know, like the private schools here. I hear that there are those cliques. So that's, over there, everyone just got along. Everyone was like, yeah, everyone had friends, but like, everyone would like, there were not those groups. And then I went to university here, which is I can get back to later, but really quick. There were sort of, but at the same time, it was never like the States. And any university is different too, but everyone got along. Sometimes everyone hang out and everyone had their groups of friends, but it was nowhere near like the States. It was like literally the States was like everyone was, it was totally segregated. Yeah. Like everyone, you sat with a group of people at lunch and that's it. That's your group.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. The whole kind of like you stay in where you're assigned to. Well, that's, you know what? That's crazy. I've never even thought about that. But that was how it was. When I see my son go to school here, it's not like that at all.
They get,
you know,
points around here.
That everybody's hangs out early. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. And it's true. I honestly don't think, I'm not saying that there's no bullying here, because there definitely is. There's a lot of name calling.
Right.
If you grew up in the R or around Dominicans, you have to have a nickname when you're a kid.
Yeah.
But it was
El ciego.
yeah, Bico.
Yeah. If you're skinny, tú eres el gordo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was it. So
it was normal, but ultimately, like everyone was friends, which is different in the States. It was so like it was shocking. But anyways, that was the high school years, and whatever, you get used to it eventually. But then it was funny because I would come back here and I would spend the summers here with my childhood friends over kind of like in the campo. Then at some point, actually, I stayed in the States for 2 years that I never came back. And then
how old were you? When did this happen?
So this was end of 2008. I was
how old were you then?
I was 16
Mm-hmm.
till 2012. 2012, I was 20. So that was like 3 years. So at least from 17 to 20, I was in the States full time. Like I didn't even come back for vacation. And then at one point, I'm like, yeah, I want to go back. I want to check out.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about you coming back. What changed your mind? What flips the switch?
That's a good question. So even when I went back to high school and I didn't like that aspect, like there was always that thought, oh, I might go back eventually when I'm older, right? Because I was a kid. And then once I started going to my 20s, like at some point I did think of like, I'm just gonna stay in the States. This is what I'm gonna do. I was thinking of going to university there. But then I actually started reading more about the art, getting more interested, even the culture. I remember I started listening to Típico. I started liking Típico. So connecting more, reading more news about DR, because I was absent for 3 years, and then I'm like, no, okay, I have to go back. So there was that interest.
But that's a C, right? You wanted to go back like vacation at that point.
I wasn't sure exactly. So, but I was interested in everything going on here.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, and I remember because I was 20, I had my money. Like I was old. I was an adult before. When you were a kid, just hanging out. I actually got to experience more of like the kind of like adult life here, and more things I hadn't experienced when I was a kid because I was in the freaking campo. And I'm like, okay, no, I want to move back. Like I like this lifestyle. I like the fact that, there's just more freedom to do certain things. It's just like people are more chill.
Yeah. You started seeing all the cultural differences, what the benefits are at the time.
Yeah, and I was old enough to kind of process that, right? And like understand it. Because like in the States, at least with a lot of people I knew, like a lot of my cousins went to school, right? And they went to university, but then they owed a lot of money in student debt. And like I kind of saw everyone on the same, like, yeah, just regular job. This is your life. It was not a bad life, I'm not complaining, but
yeah,
like it was not something I wanted. I'm like, no, I kind of want to experience something else. I don't want to stay here. And everyone, by the way, I don't know how it was in the city, but over there, like I feel most people stay there. Like they would not even move to another state, which I know, as in your case, you did move around a little bit to maybe that.
Yeah, but I was, most people didn't do that. Absolutely. Yeah. I know people that they would go to like maybe one of the boroughs and they wouldn't even fly not out of the country. Or maybe even at the very least, maybe they'll go to the Dominican Republic, let's say, because I grew up around a lot of Dominicans. And, but they wouldn't go to Jersey or anything like that. They wouldn't go anywhere. Really, they would just stay there the whole time.
In the 5 boroughs.
In the 5. That is their borough.
Yep.
Literally. I knew people that would just stay in their borough.
Yeah.
It wasn't there weren't a lot of them that were like that, but definitely it was a good amount.
I knew a few I knew a lot of people that they left the city to leave the state because of cost of living, because New York was just like
Mhm.
getting astronomically expensive just to just to have a family there and be comfortable. It was just, you got to give up a lot. Would you say was that part of that switch there? That's like, you can do a little bit more things here because it's, so possible.
Yeah, it was a combination. That was definitely a factor as well. Like, that's the thing, man. Like, I would see people working, and then even me, like, doing the math. I was not that good at math, but I'm good enough to understand, like, literally I remember back then, at least it was 2014, 2012, 2013. Majority, like, if you were making 60 an hour, that was good. Like, if people were making less than that, like 12, and I'm like, how can these people even afford a house or like do anything else and besides just like paying rent and doing the same? And then we also had circling back to what you mentioned about people not moving out. It was probably worse over there because like in the city, at least it's a city, right? Over there, it's like a small town. There, you had people that would not even come to DR.
Yeah.
Like their whole life was just revolved around this small town.
You're saying the town upstate where you were?
The town, yeah, it's like 3 streets, bro. Like it's a tiny,
Oh.
very tiny town, and the mindset was like, I don't know, this like maybe it's like in the movies, like the town mindset, but it was that. It was literally just staying there. That was it. And I'm like, man, I don't want this for the rest of my life. I want to, I want to move out, and then DR was the obvious choice, just because I really liked it here. I was getting kind of connected back to the culture, and then yeah, what I figured was like, hey, this is really expensive. And I became a dental assistant. I started working with dentists, and I got exposed to people with like a very like broad, or how to say this, like a good understanding of how economics work, how the world works. So I learned a lot from them. And that definitely opened my eyes up. They were saying the same. Like, I don't know how these are dentists making 100, right? Like over 100K. And like, how do people make it here in New York that are not making what we're making? Because we're struggling and we're dentists.
Yeah, and that was then. Now we have all these other issues going. The cost of living is a lot worse.
I got a curiosity, because I grew up like half my younger years I was in Manhattan, like in the city. I was in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan. Did you ever consider a route of, instead of going away from the city, getting even closer to the city? Was that even a thought process for you?
So it's quite interesting, and good question. So the city, again, this is like the small town. The city was even scary for some of the people over there. They were literally like campesinos, right? Because like the city, all the streets. So it was not a thought I had. It was a little bit intimidating even going to the city. But then when I started working as a dental assistant, and I started going and hanging out with a lot of these doctors, they lived near or close to the city. We would hang out like the weekends. We're like, let's meet together. And it would be like at a rooftop. And I started liking the city in a way. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. So I did cross my mind. I did notice though that the States in general is stressful. But if you ever go to do like, if you go to Times Square, let's say, I remember going there to the Dominican Embassy. By the way, Dominican Embassy is around Times Square.
Isn't it like 34th or something?
Something like that. And I remember like feeling the stress, like you feel it in the air.
Attention.
So people love that. And I don't mind it right now, but back then I'm like, holy, like that was the opposite of what I was looking for moving to DR.
Gotcha.
And then circling back to the whole economy and like not being able to, people moving out because they're not able to afford the lifestyle in New York, because this is not the city, is Rockland County, but it's an expensive county. It's like really close to the city. A home there right now is probably like $500,000, right? Like any regular house. So I was like, I remember back then, like remote work started to become like very niche. It was very foreign back there, but I'm like, look, if I can get to work remotely, living in DR, because I was cheap here, I would come with like $500, bro, and I would do a lot. Back in 2012.
Then, you know what? That's what I was gonna ask you. Like, you're talking about $16 an hour over there in the States. It was good at the time, but over here, you were making that kind of money. So what were what was your family saying at the time, right? I'm curious.
So that's a good question. So I didn't tell them.
Like, what did they think about you moving back here?
So I didn't tell them right away. I did it. I kind of kept it because like I knew they were gonna say like, "Oh, that's insane. Like, don't do it. Like, whatever." And they always had these stories about people that try to move back and didn't make it. Like, instead of like focusing on the people that did move back and made it, they would like, I guess they knew more people that would move back and didn't make it. Because I feel like back then, moving back, most Dominicans, they would like save a lot of money and move back here, and then they would have established an income, like a
You wouldn't do anything else.
nothing else.
Well,
Like,
even
you think like it was gonna last forever? Like,
even today, you know, that seems to be like the thought, right? When I get, you know, crap from my family, or when I did from my direct family, of course, right? Because they're not gonna have any, you know, pelo en la lengua, how we say, right? And so they would give me, their criticisms were, okay, well, you know, what are you gonna do over there? Like, you can't make money. It's like, well, it's 2020, well, 4 back then. So you could do a lot of things with the internet now. You know, this is not that I'm gonna come here and work at a call center.
Right.
For God's sakes. Even today, you know, like I get people calling my wife that you know is like trying to hook her up with like a call center job. Is like, no, I could just get a regular job. Like, literally, if I get paid $15 an hour over there, I'll be straight here. You know, and those jobs are more readily available. Maybe not so much now, but a lot of the thought is, you know, okay, you have a certain amount of money, but that's gonna run out. It's like, yeah, well, you know, I'm not retired, right? And that's what people think. They think still that you're coming to this country to retire, right?
Dude, that is the Dominican dream. So you guys know the American dream. Right. What's the Dominican dream? You're like, you're in the US, whatever, however many years. One day, I'm coming back. That's the Dominican dream.
Stunting. I'm gonna come stunt.
and then the now I've read in the comments like a lot of the new American dream or Dominican dream, it's like making dollars in the R,
Right.
making dollars while living in the R.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think I was a bit ahead of my time, not to brag, but I was like, in my head, I'm
No,
like,
you were very ahead of your time. Very ahead of time.
yeah,
Julio as well. You know, Julio.
I was working remote since 2012.
yeah. No, that's crazy. I started my first remote job was 2014. I was doing all sorts of things. I wanted to just get my foot in the door because it was harder back then. There was not a lot. Like, honestly, it was very niche. Not a lot of jobs. For remote. Yeah, for remote.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do. If I can do that, if I can make even $10 an hour, and hopefully I'm good.
For real, yeah.
So then, like, I made that decision when I was 20. I didn't tell my family, and I just started saving up a little money, and then just working on the side. I remember coming back home and like started like researching. Like, that's what I have a very like. That's where my mindset came from. Like, never give up, because like it took me like almost 2 years to land a remote job. I started like working on my resume. I paid for it to get like improved and.
Wow.
And then I instead taking interviews, and I finally landed a role. And then I started 2014. I did a few things, and then I landed something that was like worth it, because like the other jobs were like crappy remote jobs. There was like a lot of remote crappy jobs back then. There still is, but so then I'm like, okay, I'm out. And like it was August 2014, so it still took me like a year, because I started, because that's when I told my parents, I'm like, look, I'm moving, I'm out. My dad's like, yeah, I knew you were gonna do that. And my mom was like, what? Yeah, my dad was pretty cool. He's like, yeah, I knew you were gonna move eventually. Like, I just
I thought he saw the pattern of you coming back often and maybe talking
a lot about the R,
because you were considering the news. You said, you know, here
I was like, you're already aware of everything.
he saw the indicators coming.
You get a lot of pushback, like from the family, like, oh, that's a bad idea. You shouldn't do.
I did get pushback, but my parents were. My mom was like, I just want you to go to school there, because like the thing with at least her mindset was like, I want you to go, because so like I skipped a few things. I went to community college for 2 years, but then like when I finally knew, I'm like, okay, I'm not staying in this country. There was no way for me to go to like a regular college, because I didn't want to spend all that money. So I dropped out, and she was like having like her world was ending, because like, you know, because I'm not going to school, and like I was always like good at school, so she thought I was gonna be. She's not a university educated, so for her it was like she was putting a lot of pride, and like, hey, my son used to go. So she's like, okay, well, if you move there, just promise me you're gonna go to school, you're gonna go back to school. I'm like, yeah. And then she was more happy, but their parents are super cool about it. But
you did, right? You did. Is that
I ended up, which I'll get into, I graduated here. But the thing is that extended family, I did get more pushback with some, like there were some that were really cool about it. Some extended family was like, oh, you basically you're dumb. What are you doing? Like, you know,
Yeah,
you're,
because they don't see the vision. For them, there's one way of doing things, and it's to go. Like a lot of people here, even today, even though I think that narrative is changing a little bit, it's you go to the U.S., right? Especially if you don't come from like education and stuff.
Right.
It just seems to be like the pattern, right?
exactly. Yeah. Like my family's from the campo, and they are, yeah, they're like, and then I mentioned this on Instagram. Remember, we were like, the way my family saw DR was either to come back as retired. They liked DR, and my family was always close and would come back, or vacation, but never as a place to
They didn't
grow.
find there's a way to be sustained here.
Hold
Yeah.
on. I like that word. That really separates that old idea of what you can do here and the new of what we're doing. We're coming here to grow.
Right. Yeah.
That's like a straight
a
up
new move. That's like
that's it.
the thing right now.
So back then, people didn't think that was even possible,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So then it's
But
like
it was definitely possible. They just you had to have
difficult. I would say
it wasn't as easy as today, but there were resources. I know
Yeah.
people in my family that done it as well. It just wasn't like a common thing to do.
Yeah.
yeah.
There was exactly, so like, right, and I don't blame them. It was harder. There was like, for me, it was remote work
Yeah.
because my family, they're not rich, and they told me this. Oh, you're going back. We're not. You're on your own. Like, we're not. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. No,
We're gonna be sending you money over there.
yeah, we're not like going to bail you. They were like, we're not even gonna bail you out in case like.
Yeah.
Because then I would hear these stories too of like a kid moving back here, then their parents having to buy the flight back.
Yeah, happened to me. That's for a different
That's
story.
you. So yeah, and then it's true. Like back then, it was and there are people I know, and there are stories of people, even the owners of, for example, La Fuente Ferreteria, they did that, and I knew people, but again, I feel like my family, at least, they would not focus on those examples. So there are honestly very few of success, and they would just focus on, fulano se fue, and he came back a year later or whatever.
So you came back, you started working remote. You're still working remote now.
Yeah.
But what I want to get into is because you also do like Airbnb management is for yourself and for others, right?
Right. Yeah. So really quickly, I moved back, and some family, by the way, they told my mom like, "Oh, he's gonna be back and give him a couple of months." Like,
Yeah.
they always like, you're gonna run out of money, and he's gonna whatever. And that's, I heard later on that was like the expectation from a lot of my family, and it's been 10 years. So now it's the opposite. Actually, a lot of them are like, they kind of look up a little bit. Yeah, because I came back, I went to school, I grew, and yeah, again, I went to school, I did all that, and I honestly, all I wanted was to move back and grow. I didn't have like clear like path, like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then things just eventually started to kind of fall into place. But I graduated, and to move like really quickly, I went ahead and I saw an opportunity on Airbnb in Santiago. I made a purchase in one of these apartments that was still under construction. And I started I did the Airbnb myself. I'm like, I work remotely. I had the time. I have the skill set. Like, it's just, to me, Airbnb is just having good customer service, good quality control, and having a nice place. And I think I did that. And besides that property I own, I also run like now 13 properties. And that's kind of like, that's a summary of those 10 years, by the way, which is, I moved 2015, started going to school, working remotely, and investing, and also kind of managing those properties as well.
Would you say that there was kind of like no tipping point for you? It was like more natural. So for example, you Anthony, you mentioned your tipping point was like seeing the community here,
Right.
and that was like, oh, this is the last straw. For you, it wasn't like a last straw situation. It was more like a natural progression of like, hey, because you kind of were going back and forth.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, for those people that are watching this and maybe their connection is not as strong with TR, for me, it was easier moving back, and there was not like a breaking point. It was just like naturally gonna happen. I planned it out, and I moved back, and it was really easy for me to adapt back here. Like, the thing I missed, a few things that I missed were sometimes the food, the diversity of food, which is something we've discussed.
Right.
And
which is changing now. That keeps
which is changing now, and all a lot. It's gotten, trust me. I've been here since 2015. Santiago, at least, man, it's night and day.
Edwin, so you have a like diverse business oriented background. Like you've done a lot of different things over there, and you've worked remote. You got like a remote skill set, and then you brought that here to DR. Just doing your Airbnb business here, I imagine there's like a lot of back and forth, a lot involved. Just working here with people, with a lot of people. What would you say are like the typical misconceptions that people might have about doing business in DR, or like anything that like any curveballs that I should be aware about if I want to start a business here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there and with the Airbnb, I think it's a great opportunity, and most of that, by the way, that remote skills that I've been able to gain have actually been mostly here in DR, because
Nice.
I did work remotely for a year in the States, but then I moved right away.
Okay.
And then in terms of misconceptions, I feel like at least for the people that have been in the States for a long time and they don't understand the art, is like they think this is the Wild West, and that if they do business here, they're going to be robbed, or someone's going to somehow, screw them. That's the word. And it can happen. I'm not going to lie. I think there are two worlds in the art for business. You can go very very organic or grassroots. I don't know. I can't think of a right word, but very, like, if you can open a colmado, right, and not declare that anywhere, and not pay taxes, and no one's gonna come knocking to your door. That's one way to do business.
Right.
But then you could do business the right way, if you want to call it that. And just like in the States, you can get a lawyer, register your company, pay your taxes. Is almost same thing, and it's relatively easy if you get the right people.
Is that the key word?
If you find the right people, that is the key word. So anyone listening to this, like, my advice, if you move to DR, don't think you can start a business next day. Please either find a remote job, or if you have a certain skill set, you can even work here. Like, some companies pay very decent.
Right.
Again, and it's very specific. Like, you need the right skills. Like, don't go to a call center,
Right.
please.
Right, and you also have to have your budget in order, right? And not
I-
think that you're gonna live above your means, because
Exactly. DR is cheaper, but it can still be expensive, especially if you're trying to maintain certain American lifestyle.
absolutely,
Like, if you go to the campo or living off plátanos and stuff, man, you could
you're golden. Yeah,
you can make it with $200 a month, probably. I might be exaggerating.
you're exaggerating.
You can do
yeah,
it.
maybe a couple years ago, not anymore.
Yeah, maybe 400.
500.
No, 500.
But you know what? In all seriousness, like it depends though, because I know people that do that, right? And so it really depends how you live and how you're set up. If you own your own house already, you don't have to pay rent. I mean, you never know. So there's different living situations or different situations and stuff.
For sure. And again, if I were to do it, if I had to like plan this for someone, or I had to do it myself, I would try to get a remote work. Or again, if you have a skill set, move here, live for a year or two, really get to, especially if you're not connected. If you have trustworthy family members, make sure you use them. I mean, that sounds bad, use them, but make sure you're around them so that they can you can learn from them certain things. But also surround yourself with people like people from Dominican Bridge, or like Dominicans have already done it. Because often too, like, I feel like a lot of people, when they come back, their family members, unfortunately, are not as educated. So even those family members are going to scare you. Like, oh, don't go to businesses, you're going to lose your money.
Yeah.
Or it's like, because they've never done it, right? And like,
Yeah.
seeking an advice from someone that's never done something.
And we all know how Dominicans love to say what they hear. I say Dominicans are like parrots. We just repeat without fact checking, without knowing what we're talking about. Oh, no, porque hay que tener cuidado, because, this and that, porque tal fulano's cousin, this happened to him, without knowing if that story was even true. So that's a good point.
Exactly. If that person made it up, or, like, I've known a lot of people have failed in business, and they'll always blame, oh, it's DR, or even Santiago. In Santiago, you can't do business because it's sometimes that might be part of it, but oftentimes is they just didn't do their homework, or they were living above their means and doing stupid stuff. And one thing I've learned is that people hate to take accountability, right? They're going to always blame something else. Yeah. The last thing they're going to blame is themselves. Like, oh, maybe I didn't do this right.
So someone from the States that holds themselves accountable, they just do that here and they'll be fine.
dude. Yeah, if you know business, you've done it in the States. You come here, you can do it.
And that we tend to have that, like, I'm sure you guys agree. We tend to be having that coming here, like those type of people is what I mean to say, like entrepreneurial minded, right?
Yes.
And so it helps them that they already are coming with some sort of base business knowledge. They're able to make it anywhere, not just here, but they might know the language, which helps a lot, or they might know the customs, which also helps a lot.
That's why those are the people moving here, because those are the people that can.
Correct.
Right now.
Right. Yeah.
And those are the people that I would encourage anyone to move. But people like that, I think they honestly would do better here than in the States because there are more opportunities.
Yes.
There are less regulations for certain markets.
Yes.
So you can, like, if you have certain ideas, this is a smaller market, but you could probably do better. And certain things are cheaper. For education, for example, you have kids. Education can be expensive here, but I feel like you don't have you're not scared of certain things that are happening in the States, right? And you have circling back to what I mentioned before, you don't have those cliques, those groups. I think it's healthier here, school life. And also investment opportunities are more. You pay less taxes, for example. There are just certain things you can do easier here. So if you have that business mindset, you move here, the chances for you to grow are considerably more than the States. I'll be honest. I think if I would have stayed in the States, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I would have probably, I don't know where I would be doing. Who knows? But I doubt it. I think I would be like a lot of people I know over there doing some job, maybe a mortgage, which is not bad.
Something safe. Yeah.
Something safe because you have that safe.
Or typical,
mindset.
right? Yeah. It's also what they kind of promote, in the country. Yeah. I feel like this country is one of the reasons why I wanted to move here for my kids is to grow up in a more entrepreneurial minded society, right? Is, everybody's trying to hustle here all the time, whether you're selling aguacates on the corner, coconuts by the beach or, wherever. You're more trying to get yours, where in the US, there are some people that I know that would sell batteries and stuff, but it wasn't common. You want to get that job at Best Buy, at T-Mobile, the safe job, something that's going to give you benefits. You hear that a lot.
Yep.
And so over here, that doesn't really exist. So
and you're kind of forced to that in a way too, because like if you want to have a good standard of living, there are jobs here that pay a lot, but they're very few. I'll be honest, so you either need to work remotely or create a business. So that's why people are like everyone wants to have a business or his thinking of a business because they know that's their ticket to having that good living standard. And because during a regular job, they're not going to get anywhere as opposed to in the States where you can find decent work, which will allow you to live a decent life. But then that's it. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and going back to, because I think this is important for everybody to hear, there's a lot of opportunities, it's something that people don't say often. It is one of the reasons is because this is an emerging market, right? It's an emerging market that in emerging markets get more opportunities than in a market like in the US, depending on where you're at, that tends to be saturated, right? Especially nowadays compared. And so a lot of the talk for billionaires right now are emerging markets, right? Whether it's a continent of Africa in certain countries or the Dominican Republic or Costa Rica, Panama, it doesn't matter. They are saying if you really want to, get a lot of margin and grow over the next 10, 15 years, you want to go to an emerging market. And this is one of them. Yeah. And a healthy one at that.
I'll say one last thing to like entrepreneurs on the fence, right? Which is, the number one thing you can do for your business to come like moving here is the free cash flow. Like just you're not going to spend as much if you have, let's say, an e-commerce business in the States, if you have a consulting company in the States, if there's anything that you can do remotely or manage remotely, and then you're here, you're going to be able to cash flow that much more and grow that much faster. And this is without taking into account all the opportunities already on the island. Right. So it's like this is becoming a no-brainer probably for the next few years.
I agree. And then going back really quickly to the lifestyle as well, when you move here and when you have that capacity, the money, life can be so comfortable. You guys know you have deliveries for everything.
Right.
I broke my phone not today, because today my screen broke. It was a Sunday. I was able to find someone to fix it. I was thinking, I don't think that would be possible in the States. There are just certain things that you can do here that are just like easier.
Right.
And also, not to make this like super just capitalist or entrepreneurial oriented, like for those people that want a more like chill lifestyle or more hippie, also even that is easier here. Like I know people that are living in small towns out in the beach. They are happy. They're instructors. They're like doing like diving instructor. They're like doing something like that. I know a few people in Luperon. There's a few foreigners living there because there's a marina, and they're happy because they can, with very little money, they can live decently, and I don't feel like that's harder in the States.
Yeah, so let's talk about life in DR, right? Because you mentioned all the good things about living here. What would you say is one of your favorite things about living here? I know there's probably a lot of things, and we spoke about some maybe controversial things, right? I don't know if you want to get into that.
I will. I don't care if I'm controversial.
Yeah,
one of the best things.
Yeah.
One of the best things about living in DR is like I'll wake up on a Saturday. I don't know. I have no plans for the weekend, but I call some friends or my girlfriend, and I'm like, let's go to the beach, let's go to the mountains, and we can get like this this little box, fill it with ice, fill it with beer, and just head out either to the beach, the mountains, and we don't even have to plan that out well. We go there, people are friendly, you can stop by a colmado. It's true freedom. You know, the State's all about freedom, but I feel like certain things here, that is true freedom. Like I'm going to, let's say, typical weekend. I'm gonna go to the beach. I'm like, I'm not scared of like even a cop stopping me and I'm not doing
ruining your
plans
and stuff like that.
Going to the beach, they're not gonna be. Usually, if you're very respectful to them, they're not gonna be rude, like check your car
Typically.
Typically, yeah. One thing you can go to almost any beach here, and also you have the freedom of just setting things up, getting your food there, cooking. I feel like in the States, like there's rules for everything, right? You can just go to any random place,
that's the freedom,
set up shop, and like just here you can pretty much do that. Any random beach, anywhere, you can just stop. And you have to be here. It's free. Like you really feel free to almost, I'm not saying like do anything stupid or illegal, but yeah,
right.
We could right now let's go to the beach. And like, it's just really easy to do. I just feel like in the States you have to plan everything, and it's totally different.
It's a little bit of a drag. So I lived in Florida for almost 8 years before moving here. You guys know that. I was like 5 to 10 minutes to the beach at all times. And if I tell you, I could count with two hands how many times I probably went to the beach. It's just work. It's just the culture is different. Mm-hmm. How many times have I been to the beach? I've been to the beach more times
here.
Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I've been to the beach probably almost the same amount of times in 1 year living here that I did living. And how far do we live from the beach? We're in Santiago. An hour and a half. The quickest, maybe an hour and some change.
There is,
right?
Just getting out of the car, getting like all the stuff.
But over there, 5 to 10 minutes from the beach, and I didn't go that often. Why? It's just part of the culture, the work, the hassle of I don't know. It's just there's a lot of things you have to consider. Okay, now you have to maybe you have to go to somewhere where there's parking, right? That would be which beach we're going to. Oh, it's Saturday. Oh, and it's Memorial Day weekend. It's gonna be packed. Like it's always a thing. Where here it's like where depending on the day, apart from maybe like on a Sunday, right, when a lot of the people aren't working, and so it gets a little bit more. But even then, it's a pleasure to go to, and there's so many things you could do. And let's say it's not the beach, right? You go to the river, right? How many of those don't we have? And so nature, it's everywhere here.
Yeah, and then everything is just easier. Getting a parking lot. Some dude there, he's gonna ask you for 50 pesos, right? But he's gonna park your car, and it's just like.
Take care of it.
And just getting everything. Like you need something.
You know what it is? Tell me if you agree. A lot of what we enjoy of that freedom is that this, a lot of when you're going out, it's like more predictable. You're not thinking something terrible is gonna happen, or you don't have that wild card feeling that you might have in the States.
I think that is one.
Like I'm gonna say, like just to go completely be a little bit more fair. Like if you go out to New York City, that's New York City. We're talking about like a big city with a lot of people. Anything you go out, anything can happen.
Right.
Here, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna drive to the beach. It's gonna be a 2-hour drive. Nothing is entering my mind
Yeah,
that it's gonna be, something out of the ordinary.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Because that's rare. I mean,
Exactly.
realistically, it's
Exactly.
rare.
So that does give you like this sort of freedom of like,
The comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one thing is that we haven't touched on that's good here is that those for you that are Dominicans, this is not for those that are not, but this is our country, man. You go out and even if you have a slight accent,
Say it again.
this is our country.
This is our country.
So you
right.
go out, man, and people they treat you, you're Dominican. Like
Right.
it's a weird feeling, but that's like you're one of us, and there's that. Like it's different in the States. In the States, you kind of always feel like, I don't
Neither
know you. Yeah. But
me neither, yeah.
you are. Yeah, that is it. You're not gonna go somewhere and people's gonna be like, oh, where you are Dominican. They're gonna ask you where you're from in DR, but yeah, it's just the feeling like this is my country. I'm a local here.
Right. You're doing nothing wrong. As long as you're doing nothing wrong, you feel like
you're good.
You have the same rights as everybody else.
No one's gonna give you a second look. Exactly. You're yep. So that aspect is also it's great. Just being among your own people.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me and having me over. I really appreciate it, guys.
If you guys want to meet more people like Edwin or hear more stories like Edwin's story, join the Dominican Bridge.